The downside of it is those online communities can become an echo chamber where bad advice is just reiterated and reiterated. And it also can give you a false positive. So you see
Yep.
someone doing what you think is
Yep.
right. And so you feel this insecurity where you have to do it.
Hey guys, welcome to Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Bannister, and today's guest, we know him as Tall Paul. Paul Redman is in the studio today, guys, and you haven't quite seen Paul this way. I don't think, at least. So take a step in. Let's see what Paul does on a daily basis. Let's see what Paul thinks about aliens. Let's see what Paul does to help get Paul in the right mindset every day. Let's go. All right, welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle, and I am here with yours truly, Tall Paul Redman. So
I love it.
How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry about all of the... I have a lot of respect for people who schedule podcasts because of how hard it is to get people here. So I've already interrupted you. This isn't even my podcast. This is yours. So I'll give it back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, look, sometimes you have to wait for those things that are truly special, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and say that you're one of those things that's truly special. So,
oh, man, that's great. Thank you.
Well, look, so we've gotten, connected here this past year on since you made your latest move.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the world of Paul, right? So you came from the manufacturer side,
yes.
Then you went to the agency side, and now you've gone over to the e-commerce world. I mean, what would you even call the space that you're in now?
I guess e-commerce technology, we kind of call it the future of HVAC space. But we'll get into that. So, so I spent 10 years working for a major manufacturer and thought I would never leave. I thought I was going to stay there. At that point in my career, my understanding of how to be successful was go somewhere, climb the ladder, and then stick it out as long as you can, kind of just taking all the stock you can along the way until you're at a point where you can retire. And about the 10-year mark, 9 or 10-year mark, I really just ironically, we're on a podcast right now, I started listening to podcasts. And someone had sent me a couple episodes of Tim Ferriss to listen to. And so I'm at this point in my career, I'm driving around all the time and spending a little time on the road, and I'm listening to these podcasts, and I'm hearing these stories of these entrepreneurs and founders, and hearing these stories about people who would have an idea, and then they would test it, and then they would nail it, and then they would scale it, and then they would be off somewhere in the Caribbean telling this story. And so at that point, I just became kind of fascinated with the idea of growing a small business, really, and thought that after 10 years of kind of the corporate world, I would test that out a little bit. So found someone who would go on to become a friend in another marketing agency, and said, hey, I have this idea that we can take this agency and kind of scale it through a couple different channels and do some interesting things with it and learn along the way. And so we did that, and I did that for about 4 years or so. And, all the while had been kind of, passionate around this idea of disruption and change that was coming into the industry. And I know I'm kind of fast forwarding through a lot here, but left that, about halfway through the year this year to work with Will Hausch, who, not many people know Will, but Will had done a lot of interesting things in his career, one of which was build and eventually sell HVAC.com a couple years ago. And Will and I shared a couple of common interests, but one was just this non-negotiable agreement that the future of HVAC, or the future of the industry, was going to look a little different, and that all we had to do was look around at the cues coming from every other industry to see that there's massive disruption coming. So it's, we talk about e-commerce, but if you look back 10 or so years ago, this is kind of the conversation that was happening around websites, right? So you were probably there 10 or 12 years ago doing a breakout with someone saying, contractors, you should probably have a website. No, you should really have a website. And maybe you should use call tracking numbers, and you should have, lead funnels, and you should have contact forms, and you should have, these sort of things. At one point, those were like these ideas that well, maybe they're right, and they would try it. Well, fast forward, every contractor has a website, right?
Right.
For the most part, right? So our view is that in the future, which, is moments from now, and of course, 5-10 years from now, every contractor will have an online shopping experience on their website. It's, in our view, impossible to imagine a scenario where homeowners in the future can't transact business through a contractor's website. So I
I
don't even
mean,
know if I answered your question. I don't even remember.
no, it doesn't matter. Like
The
you
best.
you do a podcast, you do a lot of talking.
It was awesome.
I'm just thankful to finally get you on the show, right?
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I was checking my phone all morning. I was waiting for a text message to come through with some appointment that popped up on your calendar, and we're gonna have to reschedule or something. So
Again, much respect to all of those who schedule podcasts out there. Today actually marks the day that the podcast I'm a part of, To the Point Home Services Podcast, is releasing their 100th episode.
nice.
And I have said it a couple times. There's only two people, one person who ghosted us, he knows who he is, and one person who had to reschedule. So shout out to all the teams out there and the people that help coordinate and get people like me and you to focus and sit down for 60 minutes, which is not easy. So I love what you're doing here. So
I appreciate it.
what's your vision with this thing? What's the purpose of the home service hustle? Where are you taking this?
Look, I obviously, being in the contractor space, right? I wanted to be able to deliver something where there'll be insights, like like you coming on and you being able to talk about contractor commerce and the future and the disruption of what you think the future is going to be. But also, I just wanted to bring people on that could just give back, right? Like we're all busy, like you said, so hard to get us to sit down for 60 minutes. It's much harder sometimes to even get one of the HVAC owners to sit down for 60 minutes. They're busy, so it's like if I can get them to turn on the podcast and be able to listen to a mindset coach that I bring on, or some kind of financial advisor that I bring on that can help them just get better in their business, that's all I really want to do. So I really want to talk about marketing, mindset, and money are the three things I want to talk about. I think they're three very important components of any HVAC plumbing business. And I think there's certain aspects of it that kind of get lost in translation, probably on the marketing side. And then when you talk about the mindset and money, I think not enough people put enough attention to their own mental health. And they may go to the gym and work out, but I don't think they're doing a whole lot of stuff for their mental health. And as far as money, I think a lot of them know how to make it, a lot of them know how to spend it, but I don't think a lot of them know how to kind of plan for the future. And so I just want to be able to drop pieces of content like that and just be able to give back.
Good. Well, I think that this is worth doing and the timing's right. One thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is that the way contractors consume and share information has changed. Obviously, that's no surprise. We all know that. But the old model used to be you would, be a part of a manufacturer distributor. You'd go to their annual meeting, you'd sit in a couple breakouts, and you'd walk around the vendor showcase and you'd get some flyers and you'd figure out, and I'm using air quotes for those who aren't listening, you'd figure out like what was going on, what was coming up, what was new and interesting, right? That's why people would fly from, California to Vegas to go sit at the Caesar Palace for a couple days. Now everyone's sharing information in these groups and online and in what I call like micro communities. Like the community might be, oh yeah, we work with this manufacturer, but then we're also in this area, or we have these common interests, or I met Jonathan through this group and whatever that is. And so like, there's no excuse for I didn't hear or I didn't know. The only excuse is like, I just didn't do anything with it. So I feel like there's this like flattening of the industry that's going on, where all of the tools that have helped the most successful people, or the people become as successful as they are available to anyone. And one of the things that encourages me, and so I'm glad we're doing this, is you talk about marketing, mindset, money. Like innovation is not required in any of those categories in order to transform a business or a personal life of someone who's listening to this.
Yeah,
so you don't need to come up with a new marketing strategy, a new widget, e-commerce for e-commerce for your website, right?
Yeah.
Innovation is not required. It's just execution. And one of the, I guess, blessings of being in this industry, in that it's a lagging industry as it comes to technology and things like that, is you have a little bit of time and space. I mean, there's still contractors to this day who don't have some of the basic technology available, like we'll just use as on their website as an example.
Yeah.
and it's okay. They're wildly successful without it. So
Yeah.
if I'm a contractor, and I'm not, I wish I was some days. Some days I don't. But I look at this like, man, there is so much opportunity right now, and the information is so available through people who are doing things
You're
like
right,
this.
and that's one thing that I've been super impressed with is in some of these groups that you and I are in that you talked about. I mean, there are some people, and it's typically the ones that aren't making all the noise and beating their chest about how amazing they are,
All day.
but it's the ones that are truly successful. They're like an open book. Like
Yeah.
they are willing to talk to anyone. And like I see someone ask a question, and I'll just see certain people go, I've got an answer for that. Just give me a call or send me a PM. And I just think that's so impressive. To see some of these guys that are just really really successful, willing and wanting to give back to this industry. I mean, I think that's what really makes it special. I mean, this is such a big industry, but it's really so small. I mean, you and I know that. Like, everybody knows everybody. Like,
Yep.
one wrong move, and the word gets out quickly. So,
Well, you bring up a good point, and I want to come back to this. So we talked about the upside of the way people share information in the communities that exist today because of technology and Facebook groups and all that. I want to talk about the downside of it. The downside of it is those online communities can become an echo chamber where bad advice is just reiterated and reiterated, and it also can give you a false positive, right? So you see someone doing what you think is right, and so you feel this insecurity where you have to do it. Another thing too is, there's a lot of paid how do I say this, paid placement for a lot of things out there. So if 100 people say that contractor commerce is awesome in a row, I guarantee you I paid them to say that. Now, I don't do that, but I have been, there are plenty of opportunities for people that have software or marketing companies or whatever to gain the favor of some of the leaders in these online communities. So I would tell people to, just kind of be cautious. But then the other piece I want to say is 95% of the successful contractors in the country, maybe 90, I don't know, 80, they're not on Facebook. They're not in groups. They're kicking butt in their markets and minding their business without showing pictures of Lamborghinis and private jets and all these sort of things. And that is the core of the industry. So what I want to caution contractors to think about is when you hop online in these micro communities and you are tempted to say something like, everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that. I'm telling you right now, everybody's not doing that. I can think of 100 unbelievable operators in their markets across the country who I guarantee you'll never hear of because they're doing their thing, they're serving their communities, they are building and growing incredible businesses, and they don't need the attention or the community element of it. Like, they're doing it kind of the old-fashioned way. So I say all that to say, with the upside of the way contractors communicate, there's also a downside. But all things equal.
yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that really, really concerns me is you'll see these people post some numbers, and I think it just gives a false pretense to really how to run a successful business. I mean, because it only tells part of the story, right? Like, you can say, well, this is what I'm doing in revenue, but what are your profit margins, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what are you taking home? How are you reinvesting that money? What does that look like? And I feel like it's that whole like superhero syndrome. I mean, you see the baseball players do it or something, and the kids get the stars in their eyes, and that's who they want to be, and they want to do everything they're doing. So they do the same thing with some of these big guys that are screaming from the top of the mountain. And I just think it can definitely lead to the wrong direction quickly. So be cautious, find a mentor, do some research, get a business coach or something that's credible in the industry, and try to get led down the right path.
You said it, and I think there's two universal things that I've learned, particularly over interviewing all the people we have with the podcast that I'm a part of, is that the transformative moment for a lot of contractors was when they got a coach, whether that is through a Nexstar or Service Nation Alliance or through a CO Warrior or whatever. I want to make sure I'm inclusive. BDR, big one, right? When they got a coach and then they started working with peers. Those are the two things that, like, it wasn't when they joined this marketing company or when they did this. I mean, certainly those things are attribute to a lot of their success, but it was when they had a coach who held them accountable and when they got out of their market and flew across the country and visited with, in any hour or whoever. So, and those things I think are universal. They're absolutely universal and scalable truths as we go into the future. Get a coach, get some peers, get serious.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Paul a little bit. What's
favorite topic?
When we're talking about mindset, what kind of things does Paul do for your mindset? You have daily morning activity or anything you do?
I really try to. One thing I've been working on for the last 2 years is making sure that I get 8 hours of sleep.
Okay.
And the best advice I was ever given about sleep was that you start working on a good night's sleep the moment you wake up.
Okay.
So yesterday I was feeling a little I didn't get a great night's sleep the night before. We let our 5-year-old jump in bed with us early in the night, and if you track your sleep, I had like 3 hours of sleep. So anyways, I was tired about 2:30 yesterday, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have a latte. So I made an espresso, and then last night 12:22 kicking around, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to cancel this podcast tomorrow. I'm gonna be too tired. So 8 hours of sleep in any way that I can. So one of the ways that I do this, I think about what I eat and drink during the day. I don't have, like, if I have one general rule of my life that I know works for me, and I've talked about this before, is I need 30 minutes of exercise 7 days a week. And if I get that 30 minutes of just vigorous exercise, I call it getting my wiggles out, as I've said before, get that energy out, I can focus on everything in front of me. If I don't, I have this now, and this might have been because I played sports, up through and in college. I feel like right now, I woke up, I had coffee, I came to my office. You see me here now. I haven't exercised today, but in my mind, even though I know I just don't even feel like it today, I'm not even thinking about it. In my mind, I feel like there's this box that's unchecked, and that I'm going to be leaving that on the, I'm going to be leaving that unfinished. So the best way for me to operate is getting 30 minutes exercise every day, which I don't, but I wish I would.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're in the groove, like when you're in the gym or you're doing your jogging every single day, like missing that unchecked box, like you feel it, right? Like, so I think that's what's easiest to stay consistent, at least for me as well. I mean, like yesterday, for instance, so I've been consistent now for the last couple weeks. I got off, I did some traveling, and anytime I'm traveling, like if I 2 or 3 days in the gym, it's easy for me to, I'll just Monday, it's so easy to start over everything in life on Mondays.
Oh, yeah.
Start a diet over on Monday, start the gym over on Monday, everything can be on Monday. But when I'm consistent, I know, like, mentally, I go, I'm tired, I'm stressed out from work, I don't want to go to the gym right now, but I know that if I go, it fixes a lot of those things. Like, I won't be tired really the rest of the evening, and then I'll get a good night's sleep, like you said. And then it takes a lot of the stress off, because that's a time for me, like, to be able to put headphones on and just kind of listen to some music and zone out. Like, I try not to take calls or look at emails or anything when I'm in the gym. So it's a big part of my daily routine.
One thing I just started, and I learned this from Stephen Christopher. So not to reference another marketing agency while on the phone or on the line here, but Stephen's a good friend of mine. He taught me the practice of setting an intention for the day. And so I have my little journal here right in front of me, and I wrote down an intention this morning when I woke up, and I'll read them to you because this kind of will set the stage for answering that question. So I had 3 intentions for today. These are really silly and stupid. So not stupid. I need to give myself a break. I need to stop being self-depreciating. So my first intention today is to not eat any sugar. As random as that sounds.
Okay.
If I'm going to have, so I'm in my office today, there are going to be pastries all around me. I'm going to go home, and there are going to be cookies delivered to my house. If I start to give into that stuff, I start to give into other things, right? And it starts this compounding process. So I'm not going to exercise today because I don't have the time. But if I don't eat sugar, it kind of neutralizes that. So sugar isn't so much about sugar. I mean, you ask about wellness. I think sugar is like, that's the thing. It's just the thing that you don't need in your life. So I put that number 1 on my list today because I know it has compounding impact. My second one was to have mindful and complete work, meaning that when I'm working today, which is going to be when I got in my office today until when I leave, I want to be focused on work, not distracted, not like jumping into one project and jumping on the other, executing a playlist or a playbook, right? I have a list of things I need to do.
Okay.
And then my third one was to be patient when I got home. So I'm going to be
Nice.
tired when I got home. I have a lot of meetings up until this afternoon. Then I have some things I have to do with kids afterwards. And I just want them to feel like dad just got home from the spa when I get home, which is not a reality. So I got to figure
You
out how to
gotta,
get my mindset.
you gotta mindset. You gotta put yourself there, and
So
and I
there it
I, I,
is.
li- I like that. I think that makes perfect sense. I know several people who make their days very, very intentional, and when you do that, like you said, like I'm the same way. Like if I put something down or I say I'm not going to do this and I start giving into something, it's the easiest way for me to pull back and kind of almost feel like I'm doing something wrong, right? But if your
And
brain,
rationalize it. Yep.
right, if your brain doesn't make that connection and go like, why am I? Because if you're not intentional about it, then what's wrong with having a pastry or some of the cookies? But then before long, like you're just going to keep eating them because there's no thought process in your head of why I shouldn't. Like, yeah, I may feel sluggish later, or
Yeah.
I may not go on my run or my jog later because I just ate a whole plate full of cookies. But
Yeah.
when you're intentional about it and you've got it written down on paper, it's easier to hold yourself accountable. I like that.
Yep, totally. So those are some of the little things I do. And that's really it, man. I have 4 kids and I struggle probably like many of the business owners on this listening to this. Um, I struggle with thinking about work all the time and I don't have like a mental boundary. It's not like I just shut it off. Like my work has
Right.
become part of who I am. And so my wife will just yesterday, she looked at me and she was like, "You're not really here right now, are you?" And I was like, "I'm not really here right now." So I struggle with that stuff. That's really
I
my number one thing in my life is just kind of trying to be present in the moment and not think about
I
it.
hear that. I hear that myself, man, and it's that's a tough thing to hear,
Hmm.
especially from your wife because you already feel like, there's days I'm locked in my office 10 or 12 hours, and then when I come out and I'm still not present. So she's brought it to my attention before, and it's kind of like, so I kind of almost now what I do is I try to plan out or map out the things I need to carry over to the next morning.
Yep.
I try to get those down on a piece of paper before I leave my office, and then
Yes.
I'm very intentional about when I leave my office, like, not saying that something comes up like, I own a company, I've got a bunch of employees, so like if something comes my way, I have to deal with it, but I'm not gonna hang out on my phone and play on emails and stuff like that. When I leave my office, I'm gonna try to be present as I possibly can with the
Yep.
family.
Yep. You just reminded me of something. So I don't have the technical name for this, but I call it dumping. And I did this on Friday. I made a list. I didn't bring it with me today. I'm reaching in my bag to try to find it. But I made a list of everything that's on my mind with work. Just everything. This person I talked to that I want to hire, this person I did this, this project, this customer's
Mm-hmm.
project. And I just wrote it all on a piece of paper. And then I put it in what I call a parking lot. And that allows me to kind of like, all right, it's out there. So when I lay in bed tonight, I don't need to like be going through that process of like, oh, someone asked me a question on Tuesday that I didn't reply to. Like, I'll write an exhaustive list. I should do that every day. I don't, but I just call it just dumping the hard drive on a piece of paper, setting it to the side, and trying to watch a movie or.
So have you seen these Remarkables?
Yeah, Will has one of those. I don't have one of those.
You ought to talk to Will about it today, and let him know that you need one for work.
Exactly. No, I have a whole
My
process, man. So I'll show you my paper process. So this bound notebook is for
Okay.
meeting minutes. So if I'm in a meeting with you or I'm in a meeting with a client and you say something important, I take that note here. This is going to be unremarkable for a digital guide. Then I have my personal journal, which means if it goes in here, I need to be very few things go in here. Like you saw
Okay.
today, I have 3 lines written down today, and that's probably all I'll write today, unless I hear something that is, that I want to come back to. That way, it's not chicken scratch. And then I have this is a spiral notebook, vertical bound, or whatever you would call this, horizontal bound, where I write my to-do list. And the reason I do it like this is so that I can flip it. And so, as a digital guy, I carry around 3 notebooks, and it seems like a lot and it looks like a lot on an airplane, but that's how I organize my life.
So let me ask you, where do you keep your feather
Feather.
and your ink? Are you still dipping a feather in ink
Yeah.
and writing with?
No, man, I only write with the Pilot G207.
Oh God, this is
That's an
hilarious.
ad. They should owe me royalties for how often if I don't have a Pilot G2, I don't write. I'll just type it. I only write with the G2.
All right, so look, I mean, I'm going to challenge you here because you're in a space where you're trying to disrupt the future. All right, so you're being innovative, correct?
That's right.
And so get with Will and get him to kind of show you the next time you and him are together, like what the Remarkable could do, because it's got digital notepads in it, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
you can have notepad one, you can call them the same notepads you have there, right? They can be individual notepads and you just turn the page, but that way all 3 of your notepads can be inside one.
Got it. Okay. All right. I will look into it.
All right. I mean, I think my CFO turned me onto it, and then somehow half the company now, because of my producer Mindy that you met earlier,
Yeah.
she's like, she thinks the whole company needs them, so she keeps saying, I need to get one for me, I need to get one for Mandy, I need to get one for this person, so they're just getting shipped all over the place. So hey, if it will make us produce and can be more efficient, let's go,
Does
right?
it sync with Evernote?
It does not.
Okay.
It will sync to your Google Drive though.
Got it. Okay. Which is what I call my junk drawer.
There you go.
So anyhow, all right, back on the track. Sorry.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about money. Let's talk about maybe let's bring contractor commerce into it. For me, we've got several of our clients on the platform.
Yeah. Some of our most successful, by the way.
What's that?
Some of our most successful customers, like Chris with
ICS.
Yep, ICS up in New Jersey. But go ahead.
Yep. So, I feel like, or let me ask you this: what do you think? Let's just take filters. What do you think filters represent as far as revenue for percentage-wise for most contractors? I mean,
so percentage-wise would be hard to account for because it is such a smaller ticket item than an install.
Correct.
But think about it like this. So most contractors have really gotten out of the filter business altogether. It's a complete nuisance. And if they're still selling filters to their customers, they're doing it begrudgingly or because they have to as a courtesy. So
Correct.
It's a general loss leader. The moment that you roll a truck to a supply house and pick up a filter, whether it's a 12-pack of 1-inch or a 5-inch MERV 11, MERV 16, you've lost money. There is no recovering from sending an employee to a supply house to pick up a filter. So that's kind of step one. So contractors will come to us and they'll say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you guys exist because I want to get out of messing with filters. And after about 10 minutes, they realize that they were never even in the filter business ever, right? Because consumers have gone to their grocery store, they've gone to Home Depot, or increasingly over the years, and as we've proven, they've gone to Amazon, right? So we sell through Amazon in our core business. So we're a technology company that allows a contractor to have an online shopping experience on their website, and part of it is filters. And we're also a practitioner. We're also a direct-to-consumer filter subscription business. So every day out of one of our 2 locations, one in Salt Lake, one in Cincinnati, we're shipping thousands of orders to subscribers all throughout the country. We're essentially taking that business away from contractors today, if I'm being brutally honest with it, right? The contractor is going out, they're installing a high-end system, they're putting in a Train Clean Effect, so they're putting in an Aprilaire cabinet or a Honeywell cabinet or a Lennox cabinet or whatever it is, and that customer is coming to us or going online or going to Amazon to do that. What we're doing with contractor commerce is we're trying to give that back.
Yeah.
We're trying to allow customers to have an online shopping experience on their site where they can send their customers to their website to buy a filter, and we do all the fulfillment, we do all the email, we do all of that, but we do it on behalf of the customer. Like, they don't become a customer of ours, they stay a customer of the contractor. So what we're trying to make a normal thing is opening an online sales department within your company. And you start with filters. Filters
Yeah.
make no sense. And then also selfishly, we do the fulfillment. Like that's our core business anyway. So what we're finding is, the average order volume, and you can check this out through Chris at ICS, the average order value, sorry, not volume, is about $80, right? So that might be a high-end filter. It might be two high-end MERV 11s. It could be a 12-pack of 1-inch filters, but it's about $80. And our customers are getting around a 25 to 30% gross margin, minus a couple points of fees for credit card processing and all of that. But then what that allows them to do is build recurring revenue on a product over a course of time, because we know it's a consumable.
Without touching it.
Never touching it.
That's right.
Never touching it. So we ship everything FedEx ground. So if people are used to ordering Amazon Prime, it's the same truck we're loading as if someone were to order something via Amazon Prime. Same delivery method. So that's a piece of it, is giving that service to your customers that you've been missing out on. The other piece of it is there's a study called American Home Comfort Study that I think everyone in the industry at the manufacturer distributor level has read pieces and parts of it or part of the data from it. But one of the big pieces, and I'm butchering the actual fact here, so you'll have to fact check this for me, or just take my word for it, is that a very high percentage, see how I'm strategic there, I'm not getting into a very high percentage of customers, homeowners, who've made a major HVAC purchase in the last 2 years, so over $1,500. So they've had to change a compressor, they've had to have something done. A very high percentage cannot recall the name of the contractor who did the repair within 24 months. So if you're listening to this, that might seem hard to understand, but think about the last time you had some random repair done that you weren't planning for to your car. You might not be able to name the shop. You might not be able to name the Terminex guy. I just used the name, but the exterminator who came out, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of forget about those things. So we see the real opportunity with filters is for new customers. So you go out and you run a service call, you let the customer know that they can buy and subscribe or whatever directly from your website, and they can use your technician's name as a checkout code and get a discount for life for filters, and they'll never have to mess with it again. I think the fact that you're putting a box on that customer's door with your name on it and a filter over time, whether it's twice a year, 3 times a year, once a month, whatever that might be, that's a huge branding opportunity. So that's just one piece of it, and that's just filters. That's not even the fun stuff. But I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. So let's stay on the filters just for a second, because I just showed it. I emailed you yesterday and said I need some help with a new client. So I show it to one of my clients here in the Dallas market. They're south of Fort Worth. You used to live here, so Granbury, and so I'm showing it to them, and their whole team is on a Zoom call. We're going over their 2022 marketing plan, and I was showing it to them on the Allheart site out in California. And I pulled up, I think it was just the first filter that comes up. I want to say it was a MERV 16, I feel like. Yep. And I hear one of the girls from the office go, "Wow, look at that. We get that same filter for like $113 or something." And it was like 70 something bucks. Yeah. And that was with the markup. That was with markup, right? Yeah. And I said, but here's the thing, like you never have to go to the supply house to pick it up, right? Like you either sell it to the customer, let them get the price break on the subscription, or what we're doing with clients is we're creating the QR codes and taking their top 8 or 10 filters that they sell, and we're creating the little stickers. And if the technician cannot sell the subscription or sell the one-time filter, then you just simply tell the homeowner, listen, you've got 2 different systems, they have 2 different filter sizes, but I've stuck these QR codes. All you have to do is simply scan it with your phone. It'll take you straight to the page to purchase these filters. And look, I think you even show the homeowner, because I think they don't understand the markup, right? Like,
sure.
Even with the markup, you and I have looked at this, and even against some of the other brands that you guys have that you're selling wholesale, it's still substantially cheaper to be able to do it this way. Even if they can go to Amazon, but they can still get it cheaper this way, $6 or $7, right? Sure. I think it's just they think that there's so much markup and everything because they go and get a contactor, and then they look up a contactor online, and the contactor costs $10, but then they're getting charged hundreds of dollars to install, this new contactor. So they feel that everything's got such a premium markup on it. I don't think that's, so I just think it's a little bit of education here. I think that this is new to people, but I will tell you that one of my other clients who I was at the other day, and I had messaged you because we had some issues making a purchase because I was buying those filters for myself.
Yes.
My maintenance agreement is with this client of mine here in Dallas, and they came out, I don't know, a week or two ago, and they were doing my fall, maintenance. And I said, I asked the guy, I said, hey, do you have my filters? And he was like, no, like filters, isn't part of our maintenance agreement program.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I called the owner and I was like, all right, I'm going to send an email. You're going to get this put on your site, because I didn't realize the inconvenience. Like, why do I want to pay $150, $180, $200 for you to come out to my home twice a year and try to upsell me and tell me everything that I could use, but you're not even going to replace my filter, right? Like, I don't get it. You're going to spend 2 hours tuning up my system, and my filters have dust and stuff caked on them. I just can't wrap my head around that. And I know it's too hard to price the filters into a program, especially, some of these filters are much more expensive, and it's like, well, I can't charge $150 and then the filter costs me $80 or $90. I get that, but here's your opportunity to not have to worry about that. To simply be able to, like, typically if you're doing maintenance, or they're in a membership program with you, they're either been an established customer and you should have their system and filter sizes inside of your CRM. But even if you're out there on the first time, service call, and you turn that into a maintenance agreement, and let's say you're going to knock both out at one time, it's still so easy to go, all right, look, would you like to get in our filter program, or your filters need to be replaced? Here's how much they cost. Look, they're this at Amazon. Through us, you're going to save a couple dollars, and they'll drop ship right here to your house, right? Or it's
with the same delivery person that would have delivered the Amazon order. So
correct.
So it's so interesting. So like you've been a believer in what we've been doing for a long time, but then you experienced it as a customer, and you're like, oh man, this makes total sense. And you experienced it from the contractor's perspective. It makes total sense. I ordered my filters a few weeks ago from Hobica's website. I ordered on a Monday afternoon, midday Monday. I got an email notification from Lou Hobica himself that said, here's your tracking number. Thank you for doing business with Hobica. I thought that was cool. And then the filter showed up, the day after. So Wednesday. And I thought like, and again, this is like eating your own medicine, taking your own medicine. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I need to raise my pricing. I charge I charge $49 a month for people to use this service. And think about how much convenience is in that. So I get the filter delivered to my house. I go on Lou's website, or I go to Lou's Google My Business, and I write him a review. The review was, I have a specialty filter. I went to Lou's website. I ordered it. It was about the same price as it was on Amazon. Lou delivered it and sent me a tracking number. Like, that's a great customer experience. And now I get to claim that. And guess what? Lou's in Phoenix and I'm in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Right? So never even mess with it. So yes, I'm with you. It's a huge opportunity, and I think that I want to be, humble and genuine to our brand here, but we are the solution for the industry to figure out filters once and for all.
So I know, like you said, the e-commerce platform allows you to do multiple things on it. Like you can put any product, any service. All of my clients have their maintenance agreement programs. Their, IAQ is a hot topic because of COVID and everything we've been going through the last couple of years. So being able to put your air scrubbers and all your air purification systems, on your site, I just think there's so many opportunities. So now we can just pivot to the last topic of marketing. I mean, from a marketing perspective, I feel like there's just so much you can and should be doing. Like as far as let's say you did not, and I think here's the importance of the data, so the contractors out there that are listening to this, when you struggle to get your CSRs to collect an email or something, you have to start trying to be Google. Like Google is obsessed with data, and you need to start being obsessed with getting as much data as you can from your customers. And you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't collect that data. They are a customer of yours. So if they're in a maintenance agreement program, get all that information you possibly can. Get their date of birth. Like you should be sending an automated text message or something telling them happy birthday on their birthday. But if you get their filters, you put that filter information inside the CRM, and if they're not in the program, you should be sending, your CSR should be sending a text message, a day or so before the technicians are going to be arriving there to simply say, listen, here's your 2 filter sizes. Here's the links to get the filters, or we can go ahead, and get you enrolled into a subscription. I think it's just educating, and I think that's what you guys are trying to do with the system build out, right? Like that's where I think y'all are really trying to, look into the future and cause that big disruption. And yeah. I love seeing the posts, and it's typically like you'll post a little bit inside of the groups and ask some questions, but it's on your personal Facebook page where you'll really stir the pot a good bit. And I don't, I think what's going to happen, but you're not saying anything controversial. You're just asking a question, and like these, and I just get the popcorn ready and just sit back and start watching.
That's always a good test for me to make sure that we're doing something that's important. That's right. Because important things are controversial. And I'll simply put a picture of imagine me putting a picture of 6 pairs of Nikes on a website from Nike's website online. Like no one would ever think of that because it's normal for people to put pricing on their website. It's normal for brands to do it. Yep. In HVAC, it's completely, taboo, right? And I understand that every home is custom and every home, has to, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter what's most convenient for contractors. It matters what's most convenient, makes the most sense for the customers. Like I hate to reference Uber over and over again, but no one consulted the cab industry on what was best for the cab industry, right? Mm-hmm. So our view is, it's interesting. We put an e-commerce element onto a contractor's website so they can sell filters and maintenance agreements. But really, it's a sneaky way of allowing them to have an online shopping experience for anything on their website, including and not limited to fully installed HVAC systems, right? Some customers put all their pricing online. Some put a range of pricing. Some put finance price. Some put lease price. Some put cash price. But the idea here is, let's get away from the idea that if a customer goes to your website and wants information, one of the things they want to know, I hate to be a spoiler here for you, okay? One of the things they want to know is how much is it going to cost to do business with your company? And do I have enough money to do business with your company? Those are things that as customers and consumers, you want to know, right? The idea that to get a number, to get an idea, to start the financing process by yourself outside of a contractor's view, which again is something I'll come back to. The idea that to do that, you've got to invite 1, 2, 3 people out to your home and then let the customer go do research to validate. Like I get so frustrated when I hear contractors talk about like, oh, this customer went online and they think that they can get a system for $49.95, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not their fault that they think that. It's your fault. Yeah. Like you're not putting any good pricing online. So the only thing they have to go off is their mother bought a system in 1992. And then they Googled how much should my HVAC system cost. And Home Depot said that it's $19.95, like for the equipment only. No wonder they want to just ask how much the install is. So what we're trying to do is have contractors take control of the conversation. And it takes a lot of confidence. So back to mindset. It takes confidence to say, you know what? I run a multi-million-dollar organization, whether it's $1 million or a 20, 40, $50 million organization. I have professionals all around this building who are the best of the best at what they do. And the things we do cost a certain amount of money, right? Our tune-ups cost this, our trip charge is this, our maintenance plan is this, our base level air conditioning system is about this, our mid-level air conditioning system is about this, and our high end is about this. And putting that out there so that customers can find it. The idea that customers aren't going to go online and try to find pricing is absurd. So you might as well give it to them. Plus, like marketing 101, if the customer is asking a question, answer the question. I just cracked the code for SEO, right? You want to you want to not have to hire someone to answer or to do SEO for you, answer every question that a customer could possibly ask.
You're right.
Right. So anyhow, that's what we've done is we've created a way for contractors to. We have two ways to do it now. And Jonathan, I got to show you the newer version. We have a custom option where they can, customize a questionnaire and give the customer results, and then let the customer, take action from there. We've also just come out with what we're calling version 2, which is a self-guided way, more interactive, where we're asking some questions along the way. We're grabbing the name and phone number, and then we're revealing the price through the website. So sorry if I've kind of rambled there. You can tell I'm kind of passionate about it.
I think where you were spot on is you're talking about you've got to be willing to get in front of this and take control of the conversation.
Yes.
Right? Because you're right. The big box stores, they have nothing to be scared of. They're getting the equipment in bulk pricing, the Walmart pricing style, and then they're slapping their margins on it and they're putting it on their website. They don't give a damn, right? Like they're putting it. So, and you're right. Like it comes with nothing. There's no one to install it. It's just a piece of equipment. There's so many things that are missing, components that you'll need to actually, fully get that system installed. They don't talk about any of that. It's just a box with a piece of equipment inside of it. Yeah. So, me and my video team, we're going out to California to All Heart January 3rd, 3rd and 4th, and we're just going out there to shoot new video content, and we're kind of focusing it around this aspect right here. Like we're going to educate his market on why we're going to be, putting our pricing online, and why you're going to be able to, and we're going to run ads behind it, and we're going to get people to at least want to go through that funnel and see what a new piece of equipment would cost. But before we even get them to that place, we're going to educate them on what goes behind a quality contractor, like you're talking about, to have guys that have gone through all of the licensing and, can stand behind that. You've got qualified techs that work for you, and that you stand behind your work. And like you said, like there's a cost to doing business, and there's a bigger cost whenever you've got the right team with the right training behind you. So, but you have to educate that, right? Like I see people, in some of these groups where somebody digs them and leaves a Google review and puts, everything was great, but the pricing was awful. And I went online and I looked at, and this is what this part costs, and you charge this. And then they come back and they write, the owners, starts explaining, well, I pay my people, good salaries, and, I do this and I do this, and I've got all this overhead. But you shouldn't have to do it after the fact, right? Like get in front of it and tell that story so that you can put your pricing out there and not have to worry about Joe Blow down the street that's a chuck in a truck, that's selling the equipment very cheap. So I think it's just getting in front of it.
Absolutely. Momentum in industries, even outside of HVAC, momentum dictates the direction in which technology flows, right? And the natural momentum that has existed in our space for the last 12, 10, 8 years or so has been this idea that marketplaces will exist where a homeowner might be able to buy a unit by itself and then subcontract out the labor, right?
Right.
There've been a couple iterations of this from technology companies that have I don't want to say failed, but just failed to really make this a widespread thing. But that concept is new. That concept exists everywhere.
Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's something that I hate it, right?
Yeah,
and I've had a contractor tell me before, well, it's kind of like, asking, going to a steakhouse and asking, like, I brought my own steak.
Yeah,
cook
I brought
it,
my own cow,
Yeah, I mean, so
exactly.
I don't see many contractors, unless they are the chuck in the trucks who just need work, that are going to be willing to do that, because obviously they're going to make money off the equipment.
Exactly. But I think that, that will naturally grow as it does in every other industry, and there will be people to fulfill that work. But I don't think it will impact the core of the industry if they take control of the conversation, right? So if a customer comes to them and says, hey, I can get this equipment off Amazon for $32.99, the full system, plus the dampers, plus the control, plus all the wiring, it all comes in the pack, plus the copper. how much to install it. I want the contractor to be able to say, oh, that's actually not a bad deal, but you can actually buy that same system off my website, and we'll bring the specific things you need for your house to your home in our truck. We will deliver it with a licensed employee and warranty and all that. So it's more so about doing what they're already doing, but retraining the customer's mind that it has to be a different way, right?
Yeah.
And I say all this under we talk about momentum. Are there more manufacturers who are putting their pricing online and selling through online retailers today than there were 2 years ago? Yes. Are there more than there were 3 years ago? Are there going to be more manufacturers who toe that line and think about marketing and selling around the contractor, and then having some magical marketplace where the contractor can get installed leads? That is happening. That is going to happen. And it needs, it will happen. I want it to not matter. I want it to not matter at all. I want contractor to say, you can buy it at Amazon, you can buy it at Train, you can buy it at Goodman, you can buy it off our website, and we will fill in the blank. We will execute better than anyone else in the market, because that's what they do.
I agree. All right, so we're running low on time. I don't want to close this out without you. So you talked about earlier, that you guys are trying to disrupt the future of the industry. So I want to talk about the future of humanity for a second.
Oh, wow.
And and I just saw my producer's eyeballs go up, and she's probably giving me the death look. So look, because I've been having fun with this for the last few podcast guests. So I think it's just going to be a hot topic that I can, put little 15, 30-second videos out to kind of show Tall Paul and what his belief is on alien life and the future of everything that's going, like with Facebook and Metaland and everything else that's coming to be. So do you think there is other forms of life out?
I believe that it is very selfish to assume that we are the only created beings on the planet. And I don't know if that is sacrilegious or what, but I think that, and I think that applies to like a general principle I apply to my life, and that is, you assume you know everything, but you don't even know what you don't know. Right. So I think it would be to think that. Now, I'm not saying I believe or ponder or think about aliens whatsoever, but if I saw a headline that said like life was discovered here, I'm like, it's amazing how it works here. Like I'm blown away. My daughter just said something last week. My wife was looking at the clouds. My wife is always kind of like appreciating nature. She's totally in the moment all the time. And my wife was like, oh my gosh, science is so cool. And my daughter, who's 11, said, no, Mom, the world is cool. Science just explains it. So I don't know if I answered your question there, but that was her little.
No, you did. And I think you gave a phenomenal answer. I like how you worded that we would have to be almost selfish to not think it. And, and that's, for me, that's kind of where like I watch enough stuff and go down enough rabbit holes. And then I start trying to keep my, my religious beliefs as well. But then it's kind of like, I like the word selfish, because when you start looking at everything that is in our galaxy and other galaxies, it's like, why would God have made all that just to put us on this one ball?
Pick a favorite rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And then looking at some of the shit that, we do on this planet, it really makes you think like, we were the special chosen one to be on this ball. But all the other billions of balls out there, nothing.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd probably spend a half a day researching it, and then you get right back to trying to figure out how to sell filters on the internet.
Well, Paul, I will tell you the wait was worth it. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank Will for you may be a couple minutes late for y'all's meeting. Make sure you talk about the Remarkable with him, because I'm a little stressed right now, even thinking about you and your 3 books that you carry everywhere. Yeah. Because what happens like when notebook runs out, you go to the next notebook?
Backups for all of these. Yeah. Backup notebooks. Mm. And they're all a specific brand, specific weighted paper. Like, I'm not messing around.
Dang. You got some weird ass quirks about you, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, dude, it was good seeing you. I'll be in touch soon. We'll do the webinar soon, because now that I am 100% bought in and 100% believe in the contract to commerce product and the support and the entire model. I think every single one of my clients will have it on their website by the end of this year. But I think every contractor needs to have it. 10 years ago, like you said, everybody needed to have a website. I think everybody needs to have this model. I think if you market it the right way, it'll help with customer retention, turning more service jobs into actual repeat customers for that lifetime value. Again, just thinking about a filter. But if they're on a subscription with you, even if you didn't maybe get them into a maintenance agreement, but you got them into the filter program, you have to have a filter, people, right? So it's like, if they understand that, and again, how do you get that thought across to them? You educate them. So you educate them that they have to have the filter, so they might as well be on this filter program, save a little bit of money. Show them, pull up Amazon, show them that like the price is the same or a couple dollars cheaper, but like get them to be a repeat customer. And now that you got them in your database, you should be sending them emails and text message reminders. Time to change out your filter. Hey, here's your filter sizes, right? Like, here's the links. It'll go straight to that page on your website, so that you collect that customer's data and you collect any money that they were going to spend with another big box retailer. So yeah, I'm a big believer in it. I thank you for everything that you and Will are doing, and I wish you guys nothing but the best.
Likewise, thank you for what you're doing with the podcast. And anytime you want to rap about this stuff, count me in.
Let's do it. Yep, I'll have you back soon. Thanks, Paul.
Jonathan.
All right.